Homeless. About 10 minutes past 5 o'clock, the cab arrived. When Constance told the driver her address, he surprised her by asking which route she preferred, E Street or Charleston Avenue. She didn't want him to know how unfamiliar she was with the area, but her long hesitation gave her away. Trying to disguise her indecision, she suggested he take the route with the least rush hour traffic. 5 minutes later, the knot Constance usually felt in her stomach when she was in unfamiliar territory began to tighten. She was in the heart of the homeless section of town when the traffic slowed to a snail's pace. Ahead, she could see the flashing emergency lights of an ambulance and a police car. Instinctively, the nurse told the cab driver to pull over to the side of the road and wait for her. As a professional nurse, she felt it her duty to offer assistance at the scene of the accident. As she approached the flashing lights, she took a few deep breaths and introduced herself to the nearest police officer. "Excuse me, I'm a nurse at Regional Hospital. Can I be of any assistance?" "Thanks for offering, but it looks like the paramedics have things under control." "What happened?" "A minor accident. They think the driver may have broken his collarbone, but that's about all. Fortunately, no one else was hurt. Excuse me." The officer began clearing the crowd and working to direct traffic around the accident. On the walk back to the taxi, Constance noticed the mattresses in the alleys and the cardboard shelters leaned against the side of old buildings. People actually live here, she thought, and she wondered how many of them were sick or would soon become sick in such conditions. Although she'd seen homeless people at the hospital before and had treated several, she felt something that was absent in her hospital work as she walked along the street where these people were trying to survive. As she crossed the last side street before reaching her taxi, she heard some street singing. A group was huddled around a fire they had built in an old metal garbage can, spray-painted like a Christmas tree. They sang a bittersweet Christmas song that Constance had never heard before.
Homeless, homeless, like the Christ child was. Homeless, homeless, but there is hope because He came down to earth to lead us. He vowed He'd never leave us. Homeless, homeless, for in His love there is a home.
The song had captured her attention, but the singing of it with such hope and optimism was capturing her heart.
Oh, so homeless, homeless was His humble birth. He was homeless, homeless, and still He changed the earth. Nothing kept His heart from giving, though most of His life was living. Homeless, homeless, He showed it's how we live, not where on. When His homeless days on earth were done, when His homeless days were done, He went home to where we all came from. And He went to prepare. A mansion for us there. He gave His whole life to lead us, and I know He'll never leave us. Homeless, homeless, for in His love there's a home. We are not homeless, homeless, like the Christ child was. We are not homeless, homeless, like the Christ child was. We are not homeless, homeless, like the Christ child was. We are not homeless, we're not homeless, like the Christ child was. We are not homeless, homeless. We are not homeless, like the Christ child was. There is a home.
As she pulled herself away from this unlikely group of Christmas carolers, she was struck by how much she wanted to give them something, some money, a handout, but no one asked. Here, of all places, she would have expected panhandlers and beggars, but instead she found dignity and hope. Where had it come from? She wondered as a taxi drove her home. Where had it come from? After supper and before calling it a day, she thought she'd read a while. She tried to get into her routine of studying from nursing journals and medical books, but for some reason, that was impossible. Then she tried to do some casual reading, but nothing she read was anywhere near as interesting as her own reflections on the day. Later, while she was getting ready for bed, she detected the same sense of anticipation she'd felt earlier that day, but she didn't fight it. And while she brushed out her hair, she found herself humming tunes that until today she had never heard before.